Howdy out there, folks. We're just going to take a quick look at Immortal Beloved, the Blu-ray release. And this is one of the early Blu-ray releases that was quite solid. The sound design in particular was just terrific. The score and the sound design are just amazing sounding on my system. And as far as the movie goes, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I think on balance it works. And Gary Oldman in particular is just terrific as the titular character. Ludwig Bond, he really, of course, just completely embodies the character as he's done so often in his career. I don't think you could argue that Gary Oldman doesn't really give it his all. I mean, he is just a fabulous actor who has shown over the years to be someone who can truly play anyone. I mean, he's just such a chameleon. In this film, again, being someone who is a fan of Gary Oldman's, and certainly I appreciate Beethoven's music, but I'm not like a classical music guy. But at the same time, there's no denying Beethoven's music is incredibly powerful, and you know, obviously it goes without saying, he was a brilliant musician. So as far as, again, the movie goes, I think it's definitely worth a watch. The only knock I would say is that I myself have found that when you have a narrative that sort of starts off at one point and then goes back in time telling the story through flashbacks, I'm just not as much of a fan of that style. It can work, but often it doesn't. I give another example of a movie I recently watched on streaming services, Fire in the Sky, and that had the same problem, but I think they did a better job here. It's certainly an interesting story. I believe it's actually it's pretty historically accurate, if I'm not mistaken. At least the crux of the story is true, and I just love, again, seeing Gary Oldman play this part is fabulous, and the music is wonderful. Of course, he's got several co-stars who are all good in it as well, including Isabella Rossellini and Valeria Golino. And let me see if there's anyone else in there I recognize. This gentleman here, who of course was the evil doctor in The Fugitive, he does a fine job. I enjoyed it, and you know, the director, of course, Bernard Rose. Interestingly enough, he directed the original Candyman, and he's a pretty talented guy. I look back at his work, and he's very eclectic. Certainly not a commercial director per se, but I think he did a good job. And I believe Gary Oldman, one of the reasons he decided to do the part was because of his respect for Bernard. He really thought that his take on this story was good, and he liked where he was going to take it with this film. So now the Blu-ray, again, this is one of the early Blu-rays where they have the promo for, you know, the Blu-ray format, and then of course you've got the disc art, which is nice. Often you don't get that, and I believe this has got the DVD in it as well, or no, it does not, but it does have reversible cover art. So again, this was one of the nicer Blu-ray discs, and I believe this is a Sony release, and Sony, generally speaking, just does a bang-up job with their DVD releases. I think their transfers pretty much universally are excellent. So again, having recently rewatched this on this disc, I will say that it was an enjoyable time. Very beautiful, just powerful score, a lot of fun to watch, and I remember seeing it in theaters and being you know, moved as well. Just, again, a huge Gary Oldman fan, and he was in that zone there where he just couldn't go wrong. I mean, he had done True Romance, played Lee Harvey Oswald, Dracula, you know, Romeo is Bleeding. He did this one, Murder in the First. You know, just bang, one after the other. Very interesting characters that he knocked it out of the park. I mean, the quality of those films varies, but I think mostly they're good, and some are even great. So I will just leave it at that. If you've never seen Immortal Beloved, I definitely recommend it, and if you have, I think it's definitely worth a revisit, and just has some amazing music in it. and the visuals that they put to that music, I think are quite solid. I suppose the one comment I'd like to make too is everyone likes to point out that, you know, Amadeus was the movie about, you know, sort of encapsulating a historical composer, and they're just very different films. And I think that, you know, yes, I would say Amadeus is a better movie, but I think that Beethoven is a fascinating character who warrants a film adaptation, and who better to play him than Gary Oldman. You know, narratively speaking, I do concede that Amadeus is the more entertaining film, but I certainly think that this is still a good movie, and again, definitely worth a watch and worthy of being on your shelf. So on that note, please take care out there, everyone. Stay safe, be kind, and keep watching good cinema.